All right. So tell us about a time when you struggled with the question, am I enough?
Phew.
I know, right?
See,
It could be multiple times.
I'm gonna
'Cause, like,
share
for
something
me,
with
it's
you
like,
that and I think this is a story. I don't think I've shared this with anyone. Maybe my best friend. But there was one day, I don't know. I think I was coming back from a doctor's appointment
mhm,
with Taya.
mhm,
Um, and she was in the back seat. I was minding my business. It was quiet. We had the music on the radio playing. And she just out of nowhere goes, Mom, I hope you know that you are enough. And I was like, what made you say that? She's like, well, I know you're really hard on yourself and you question
wow.
whether or not you're being like a really good mom, and you are. And
Oh,
it took me so much to not like pull over and cry, but like I definitely got really emotional
need
because
it.
at that time I know that I was struggling with that concept.
Yeah.
Mother in not just motherhood, and I want to say pretty much all aspects of my life at that
Mhm.
time.
Wow.
So yeah, that was one time,
Oh,
and it just came, like I said, at the right time where when you just be having conversations with yourself or just conversations with God or
absolutely.
whoever, and nobody is around, and no one knows these conversations that you are having with
Absolutely.
yourself or whatever, and just to have that confirmation from my daughter of all people,
Exactly.
it was
Who else to give that better, who better than to give that confirmation than your daughter?
and
Like,
just what she said, like, I know you struggle sometimes with thinking that you're not doing enough.
mhm,
Because I do have an open dialogue with my daughter. So when I am
absolutely.
feeling overwhelmed, I do have conversations with her. It's just like, listen, mommy just needs a little bit of space right now because I need to process certain things.
Mhm.
And we respect each other's boundaries in that way.
Yeah. Oh,
So I know that like that's a conversation I had with her in the past. So
yeah.
just for her to kind of like circle back to it, like I want to say this was maybe months later.
With our little kids, they'll just come in the room and they'll start doing something silly, or they you know what I'm saying, or they'll just say something or whatever the case may be, and so then next thing you know, my mental state is now shifting
Shifted,
because
right?
yeah, it's shifting
Mhm.
because now my focus is on them and I'm laughing with them and what they're doing and what they're saying. So I think kids are like God sent absolutely because they're so innocent. They're like
Yeah, like it comes from a pure place.
and
Yeah.
from a pure place, exactly, from a very pure place. But I'm laughing because that is so true, like, that's how that is that is a prime example of just how critical of ourselves we are, because we will have a time and we will allow the smallest thing, but at the moment, you better not tell me that it's small because it's big
Because
and it's
at
serious,
the
like
moment, that's all that matters.
that's all that matters. But then when you look back at it, it's like we even the smallest of thing can't find a shoe, or the shoes that I wanted you to wear to school with this outfit,
Mhm.
you done misplaced it, or the coat that I wanted you to wear today, I wanted you to wear that coat today. Like today was the day I wanted you to wear that coat and you don't know where that coat is at. And so you stressing like that just happened to me yesterday.
Today, this
It
morning.
just right, it just happened to me yesterday because it was pajama day, and and I washed the clothes, washed the pajamas, like, I had it laid out, like, I was ready, right? I was ready the night before, I was proud of myself because I was prepared the night before, right? Which rarely ever happens, but I was prepared. Then I get up and I'm like, I go to where I had the pajamas at, and I can't find them. Girl, I took, like, 15 minutes. And everybody else was asleep, right? I'm waking the whole house up. Lights is going on. Where is these pajamas?
Right, because you don't put all that effort into trying to
Exactly.
avoid this moment right now.
Exactly. 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 And, what are we doing, right? And then and then another thing that comes to mind was it was raining when they came home, and this was a bad parent moment, right? Quote unquote. So it was raining, and they get off the bus, like, diagonal from the house, right? But it was raining. My husband was like, "It's not really raining, it's, like, drizzling, they can put their hoods on." And I was like, "No, it's raining." When it rains, I like to meet them at the bus stop with an umbrella, so that way I can walk with them back to the house because it's raining,
Mom.
right? And so, yeah, but yes, I couldn't do it. Like, I wasn't prepared. Like, didn't know where the umbrella was at. They had already started walking to the house. And he's looking, and my husband was looking outside the window, and they had their hood on. And he was like, "See, they got their hood on. It's fine." But if you only knew mentally, I was like, see, this is a bad mother moment. What type of mother am I to allow my kids to walk through the rain to the house? Like, I'm not this is not working. This is not working. You know what I mean? So I think that being criticizing ourselves and putting so much pressure on ourselves. I think once we deviate from that a little bit, it will better put us in a place mentally and spiritually where we can start taking on more things, and, like, taking things as, like, it's okay, like, all right, it's okay. Like, they got hoods. Okay, it's okay. Okay, you don't have that shoe. Let's just get another shoe.
Yeah.
And then the release and the woosah of just not worrying about it. All right. So you mentioned that you were sheltered. What was that like, being sheltered, and being the only girl? Um, and how does that play a role in how you parent your daughter?
Ooh,
Two-part question.
ooh, I
Yeah.
wasn't ready for that.
Sorry.
um, so I will say that as a parent, of course, you always want to protect your child. So, like, I understand why I was sheltered, now that I am a
Mhm,
parent and all the
mhm.
horrors that really are in the world.
Right.
So, I understand why my parents parented the way that they did.
Mhm.
But I do find myself giving my daughter a little bit more freedom, um, and like independence so that she can figure out who she is as an individual,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
earlier rather than later. Because I feel like I didn't know who I was up
Yeah.
until like my adult, my even my later adult years.
Yeah.
So I struggled with my own identity, and I felt like I was always so and so's little sister, or Sister Lamb's daughter, or Pastor
Yeah.
Lamb's daughter. Like I was never
Yeah.
my own person, because I had so many people. Like I felt like I was in the shadows of
Mhm.
everyone else in my family being the baby. Now, if you ask other people or ask my brothers, they would have a different experience of me,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
but for me, I struggled a lot with who I was. So that definitely does transfer over into my parenting style now, with letting her kind of figure things out, but not like, don't get me wrong, it's not like she can just go do whatever she want to do,
Right. Right, right, right.
with guidance, like
Yes.
I need you to, there's a term I want to say, oh, I don't want to get it wrong, but it was doing dumb things smart,
Mhm.
where it's like the kids have to experience certain things so they can learn. how
Yeah.
not to
Yeah.
do something. So
Yeah, I
I
can see that,
try
yeah.
to make her have those kind of experiences where, all right, you gonna learn, but God, you don't want to listen to mom. Go ahead. I told you
Yeah.
once. Now go ahead and figure this out on your own. And
Yeah.
then we can talk about it and we can, have a little moment
Right.
afterwards and we can, all right, so what did we learn? Are we going to do this in the future? Okay. So I think that's how that shapes my parenting style now, where
Mm.
she definitely does have a lot more freedom than I had. Um, and she's
So
and
how
it
did
and it shows like she's
Yeah.
such a in your face kind of girl. Like if she wants something, she gonna go get it. She gonna
Yeah.
ask and she gonna find a way to get what she wants. Whether
Yeah.
where I
Yeah.
was very timid and very like shy and it was more I had to figure out like a closed mouth don't get fed where you
Mm.
ask for something
Yeah.
you're not gonna get it. Like the answer
Right.
will always be no and
Yeah.
until you ask. So
Yeah.
she's not she's not that type of person. She gonna
She's not
ask
that at all.
for sure.
Yeah. And that was actually gonna be my next question because I was gonna ask, how did that, um, mm, how did that make you, like, act and respond as a child? Because depending upon how people are, raised, it will cause them to act out, or it cause them to shy away, or it cause them to be muted.
I
What did
retreated. Like
How were you?
I just retreated into my shell. Like I was perfectly fine with being alone and just kind
Mhm.
of like when I have that outlet to, okay, but I grew up in a household where not just like my household, but like just like my other family members, like my
Yeah.
grandparents and my great
Mhm.
grandparents, because we're a very close knit family, all of us,
Yeah.
that like kids are not meant to be heard, just seen. So like
Mhm.
we don't speak up and question the adults in any way, shape, or form. We
Right.
just be
Right.
there.
Right. Exactly.
So, um, dang, I forgot your question. I feel like
No,
I
you
was
were
talking back. Did I
no,
answer
yeah. Yeah, no, you were answering it. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, you were answering it. You were. You were.
Okay.
So, so you're saying that it made you kinda like you're
Yes.
just there.
Hmm.
You were just there. Like,
Yeah.
it was, you were there. So, mm, and I'm asking these questions because for me, it was very similar. Um, I think it was just a generational thing.
Yeah.
But for me, it was very similar. So when it comes to our kids, I try to do the opposite of what so basically how I was raised, um, how I was raised and how it made me feel then, I
Hmm.
am trying to avoid allowing our children to feel that way.
Right.
So, to try to avoid having them feel that way, I am very cautious and I'm very strategic about the things that I say, how I
Hmm.
move, what I tell
How
them.
you say it too
Yeah, and how
matters.
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly, because it's not always about because I said so. That was one of the things that I hated
Mhm.
because I said so. You know what I mean? Like, and it's giving them their space to, like you said, develop who they are.
Right.
Um, because if you don't, then they're going to end up going through life not knowing how to maneuver through things,
Right.
who they are. You know what I mean? So, now you were a child, you were going through that. Now you're starting to get older. What transitioned or what happened to, well, okay, no, let me back up. So you're now an adult, not like now, but from a child to like adult, like college age. So you're now
Okay.
now an adult and you're able to go out on your own and do your own thing.
Mm.
Uh, how did that affect you then? Because for me, I
Girl,
was doing
I
any and
was
everything that I was big and
about
bad enough to
to.
do.
Yes. You said what? I got a little bit of freedom. Ain't nobody here checking on me. Girl, I'm out. I was
Right,
out. I was
exactly.
out. And I was in
360.
Atlanta. I was
Ooh,
out. I
yeah.
was living my best life.
I know that's
It was
right.
wonderful.
So mentally, so that was how you were. So then but mentally, how was it as well?
Um, See, that's the thing. I I got too much freedom and then I didn't know how to reel it back in. So that was my
Mm,
struggle. And I didn't know how to balance having that freedom and then being able to like stay on top of my academics. Cause I was
yeah.
just worried about going out, partying, and I let me not say that. I feel like that paints a picture of like
Look, I get it. Trust me, I
but
totally get it.
if so and so is having a house party and then I got my midterm, I'm not gonna be that focused on my midterm. I'm gonna be focused on what I'm wearing to this party.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then who can go to the mall with me? And like stuff like that
yeah,
where I'm
yeah.
not setting the appropriate time to focus on my academics.
Not being disciplined.
No, not at all. And
Mhm.
I didn't have that mentality. It was just like all my life, it was school, home, books, school, books, home. Whatever order, it was school, books, home, extracurricular activities somewhere in between there because I played sports. But I
Right,
couldn't play sports if I didn't maintain my grades. Like
right,
it just
right.
was just clockwork, had to do it. It was like second nature. So now that like I don't have nobody on top of me making sure, hey, did you get your homework done? Or did the teacher sign off on this? Or
Yeah.
where's that
Telling
book
you what to
report?
do, when to do it, where to go, what time to go. Yeah.
My
Mhm.
time management was very poor.
Yeah.
Very poor. And I played college sports. Like I was a college
Oh,
athlete and I
wow.
was just
Yeah.
worried about going to practice and going to parties. I can't even
Mhm.
say that I was really worried about anything else because everything always came natural to me as far as my academics were, like
Mhm.
academically wise.
Mhm.
So I never really had to put in that much effort to do
Yeah.
well on exams and papers and things like that. I could literally bust it out
Yeah.
last minute day of even really.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do that when I went to college.
Yeah.
I really had to put in effort and time and to me that wasn't important in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I
I
just
got
wanted
you
to
on that.
I just wanted to play sports. I wanted to
I want to
look at
have fun.
yeah.
Just wanna have fun. Girls just wanna have fun. Yeah.
Tell her
So now you're an adult with a child
which
and s
that's also partially why I want her to have her little bit of independence now.
mhm.
So that way she knows how to manage her time wisely. Like, yes, you have time for fun, but make sure this is done before you go ahead and do those
Yeah.
things. Like, her schedule is full, but best believe once her academics start slipping in school, or I get a phone call from a teacher, oh, I don't think you can make dance tonight because
Yeah.
you wasn't prioritizing school today. So
Absolutely.
why are we going to prioritize dance tonight or whatever activity it is for that night? So we're not going to do that. So she's learning.
So would you say that the sheltered lifestyle that what you had, would you say that it worked, um, for you?
See, that's a layered question because I don't think it worked for me. but I'm not. I did, growing up in the same household. It worked for my other siblings.
Mhm. And that's what I'm gonna ask too. Do you think that it really depends on the child? Can
I think
you
it depends
parent
on the
each
child
you gotta parent each child differently.
very differently. Yes,
Yeah,
and but they yeah, because we all have our own personalities, and we
right,
all are going to take certain things very differently.
right.
Like I'm the only girl. My mother can parent my brothers very differently than she can parent
Yeah,
me.
absolutely, absolutely,
And like the
absolutely.
dynamic is just very different, and just black mom, black daughter dynamic
Yeah,
is rough within itself. So
yeah, talk about it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now that you're adulting,
it's okay.
um, adulting with your daughter, how would you say that how you were raised? So we touched on how it affected you as a parent. How does that, or how did that dynamic and how you were raised affect you relationship wise as an adult?
What do you mean?
Like friendships, boyfriend, girlfriend, dating, friendships, relationship wise, coworkers. How did it affect you and
Like how
with
I
your
was
relationships?
raised? Is that what
Right.
you're
So
saying?
right. So being sheltered,
Uh-huh.
how did that that affected you mentally? It affected you as a person. And so now as an adult, how did that affect you when it came to your relationships?
I'm still figuring that out, honestly.
Mm,
Um, because I'm actually at a point in my life where I'm very introspective and I'm really analyzing my relationships with people across the
mhm,
board, not just like
mhm.
romantic relationships. I mean, my friendship dynamics from high school to adulthood to now, I was very different people. So, like,
Yeah,
the version I am now is not the version that my high school best friend got of me, you know? Even
right.
though, like, we still talk and communicate today, I don't even know why. Like, I'm really hard on myself because I feel like I wasn't a good friend to certain people. Um, but I don't, I'm still figuring that out. Like,
So
it's
you feel
something
like
I
you weren't a
struggle
good
with.
you feel like you weren't a good friend then to
Yes,
them? Okay.
where, but in the moments, so like it's something I'm still struggling with and still like
Mhm.
talking to my therapist about, and trying to unopen some stuff that I've just
Yeah.
repressed. Um, that's like I said, I'm very overly critical of myself.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like certain decisions that I've made as a friend were not the best. Like I'll just put
Mm.
it out there, it was not the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but in the moment of making those decisions, it made sense to me. So like
Mm.
I didn't you could say that I was being selfish, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
but in my mind, that was the best decision for me. So I'm still
Right.
working
Yeah. Yeah.
on like trying not to label myself as not a bad friend, even though I just did. Um, but
Well, actually, really though, it sounds like you're labeling the olds and the high school you. So you're late. So it's because you're saying that you don't know if you were good friends then, but
right,
what about now? Are you making better decisions and as far as your friendships and whatnot now?
yeah, I was yes, yes.
So,
Because
so
my friendship dynamic now, I love the way me and my
yeah.
best friend and I interact with each other. Like,
Mhm.
and I love that we get to show our dynamic in front of my daughter so that she does have an example of what healthy relationships,
Right.
friendships are and what they
Right.
look like. And it's not always peaches and cream, you know,
Right.
but at the end of the day, it all comes from love. Like it's operating out of a place from love and
Yeah.
respect for each other.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely, absolutely.
so yes,
So
I love my
then
friendships now.
so
And then
okay,
find
so
out
if
it
you
goes.
love your friendship now, why is it that, because women, we do this in all aspects of our lives. If you love your friendships now and you're making better decisions now
Mhm.
and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing now and you've learned of what to do, not to do, what to say, not to say, and you've learned from those your past friendships, why is it that you're still beating yourself up from the high school you when the high school you didn't know what you know now?
So like I understand that part and I feel like
Mhm,
I'm kind of beating myself up because those decisions that I made,
mhm,
caused hurt to people that I cared about,
mm,
So that's still
mm.
I don't think that's ever really going to go away.
So it's like a regretting feeling that you regret doing those things or
I
like you
really
feel
don't. I don't regret the things that I did because I know in that moment that that was a decision that
right, in that moment, right,
I had to make that decision and
right.
that's just how the cookie crumbled and I don't have
Yeah,
regrets. I just I don't know how I could have made those certain decisions without hurting said
mhm,
persons,
mhm.
but
So have do you feel like you owe the said person's apologies?
they've gotten them
So if you've given them the apology,
because the hurt's still there. Because the hurt's
but
still
the
there,
hurt
and that's a me thing, and I'm working on it. I told you, me and my therapist is working on it, okay?
okay, because I'm
Okay.
just trying to think. I'm just like, so that was
I
the
know that's
old you. So that was the old you. You've apologized for it, but you know why you still beating up yourself up
because I'm
about
my
it?
worst critic, and I know that.
Right, but more importantly, you haven't even forgiven yourself for it.
Probably.
So you can't, and that's really why you're still beating yourself up about it because you're like, because even as we're thinking about it now, it's like if I hurt someone today, you know what I mean, by something that I've said or something that I may have done, if I hurt someone today, I acknowledge that I've hurt
Mhm.
them. I apologize that
Yes.
I hurt them, but I'm still like, dang, I hurt them.
Mhm.
Dang. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're still, yes, our worst critic, but really that's coming from the fact that I haven't forgiven myself saying, "Hey D, it is okay. You've
Mhm.
apologized. You've done your part. You've spoken to that person. You didn't know then what you know now. You've learned from that experience. You've learned from that whether you feel like it was a mistake or not a mistake. You've learned from it. You've grown from it. So now it's only now just time to move on. Like, it's okay. Like, it is what it is. Because what's crazy is we're stuck on it, not forgiving ourselves, and they're moving on.
Yeah.
You're apologizing about it, and really, they probably were waiting for that apology, and some probably weren't waiting for that apology, but either way, they're not even thinking about it anymore. And here we are, like, still allowing that to change and dictate how we move and what we think and how we say and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
I do.
Um,
I do know what you mean.
I've been there.
This is why I said earlier, like I'm trying to move away from operating out of
Yeah.
my ego because it's really just my ego. My ego is hurt because I hurt them, and it's just like, I don't want you
Yeah.
to look at me in this way because like I've grown. Like look at me. I'm not the same person anymore.
Right,
But I'm
right.
still operating from my ego because I care about what they think.
Yeah. And then also too, I think parts of us sometimes still operate from that little girl.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That little girl that was hurt, or that little girl
Yes.
did hurt someone
Mhm.
else, or that little girl that felt neglected, or that little girl that was traumatized. I think a lot of times, sometimes we, in our adulting, we are making decisions and we are maneuvering based off of that little girl,
Mhm.
not mindset, but more so like that little girl feeling, like, because
Yeah.
all those little girl emotions are still, like,
They're
working
still
its way through.
there. Like,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's
'cause
definitely
we
still there.
never I feel like never really got a chance to acknowledge that little girl and validate
Yeah,
her feelings. So, yeah, until their feelings get validated by who it needs to be validated by, it's
yeah,
still kind of like the
yeah.
yeah.
And I think too, that's why it's important to, once again, as we were talking about before, knowing who we are
Mhm.
ourselves, because and knowing that the first validation needs to come from you.
From our yeah,
Like,
from
from
ourselves.
yourself. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, you know what I mean? It has to come from yourself, because if you don't feel like you're enough, if you don't feel like you're worthy, if you don't feel like you're valuable, if you don't feel that way, then how is somebody else gonna look at you and value you? How is someone else
right.
gonna look at you, and you know what I mean? So, you have to put your you have to, and I think that it just came to me. I just had an idea. I
What?
think I think
What?
tell me, girl, tell
What?
me. But I think that if women as a whole would, because we all think, and we're criticizing ourselves, and we're operating from this little girl, and we're beating ourselves up, and we're operating from out of our ego. I think that if we switch that to, I know who I am. This is who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I love who I am. And we just switch it all to like that type of attitude. If we put that much in it, if we put the same amount of energy into the positive side as we do on
Mm,
the negative side, I think, because we already powerful, you know what I mean? We already
oh,
got it going
I
on.
oh,
But can you imagine, just like, if everybody took
shit.
that shift over, you know what I mean? Like, and I think it
Oh,
starts
man, it's
from,
kinda
and
scary.
it's like, really, and but it's
Like,
important that we do it now,
yeah,
because you have a daughter, I have a daughter, we have daughters that are now coming up. So, if we want that power to continue to reign, if we want them to be able to operate out of confidence, out of assurance, out of validation for themselves, after knowing who they are, if we want them to operate from that place, I think it starts with us, and it starts with us making that
yeah,
switch, and then teaching them, like like you were saying, that you're teaching your daughter, and you're showing her, you know what I mean, and giving her that space. And I think that's important, because otherwise it's just going to be a chain reaction,
right.
and it's just going to be the same thing over and over and over again.
Yep, trying to break that.